All right. Good morning. Good morning. Zach Martin here, Kids that Serve Dads. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Um, really spent a lot of time with my family. My parents were great. They stayed in town. We had a little family emergency go on, and um, my son was sick the whole entire week. Slept on the couch, didn't get up, didn't do much of anything. So it was really just a relaxing time to be with my parents and my sister. And I got to spend some time talking to my friend Jesse Goodman, who's on live with me today, about some of his family stuff and what he's been going on. So I want to welcome Jesse to um, the program. Welcome, Jesse.
Hey, by the way, my kid was sick all through Thanksgiving also.
Really, Mason was sick the whole time too.
The whole time.
What was
He
wrong with
got
him?
he had double ear infection, sinus infection in his nose, and his a bronchial infection all through
Yikes!
Thanksgiving.
Holy smokes! Did you give him some drugs and stuff to get him taken care of, or what'd you do?
Well, I try not to give kids drugs. I'm not like you. But yeah, I had to give him I used Zarbee's and some Mucinex and antibiotics.
Nice. That sounds really good. I think getting taken care of. I didn't give my son anything. He doesn't like meds. He really has an issue with it, like how they taste. He'll take his allergy meds. That's it. So
Yeah, same. I can get him to take Zarbee's real easy, but when it comes to like Mucinex, he says, quote, bad to the bone meds, and he won't take them.
bad to the bone. That's hilarious. You gotta like kids, man. They say the funniest stuff, right? Like just
Oh, yeah.
just random. So what's Mason's 5 now, right?
Yeah, he turned 5 in September.
Wow.
Seems like yesterday he fit in the palm of my hand, and I could just hold him up.
Yeah. Yeah, turned 5 in September. What's been the best thing about being a dad to a 5-year-old?
The best?
Yeah,
Well,
something great.
honestly, probably just watching how he sees the world. I
Mhm.
mean, everything is so exciting to him. Everything is just so extreme.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting over here like, oh, how does he have this kind of energy? But I mean, no, I love his energy. Everything's exciting, everything's new, everything's amazing. Unless it's medicine, then it's bad to the bone.
It's bad to the bone. I think that is one of the greatest things. Like, they just have such a zest for life, right? Like everything is just there's just so much energy in all of it. Like when they're mad, they're extra mad. When they're happy, they are just on top of the world, and they're in that moment, whatever it is, completely all the time. Uh,
Yeah,
I completely agree with you. I think that's such a powerful way to live, and can learn a lot from our kids in how they function in those environments, right? Like they're just there and they're just doing it and making the best of every chance they get. So I think for me, for a 5-year-old, God, he was just getting into like schooling and stuff because Mason's in kindergarten, right?
I know he's still in his special education preschool.
Okay,
He's supposed to start kindergarten next year, as long as he's ready. He's
okay,
still behind in a lot of areas where he was on the or he is on the spectrum.
right. I knew he was having some issues with that stuff. I didn't know if they had him just in normal kindergarten school or not. Tell me about or talk about that. Um, tell me about the experience of having a kid who's on the spectrum and how you've dealt with that.
Well, the hardest part was actually not dealing with him. It
Okay.
was where me and his mom differed on that. I've known he was on the spectrum since he was just about 3 to 4 months old. I could see all of the flags, the arm flaps, the head shaking, I mean, the rocking in the corners and stuff. And it took until 2022. From 2018, I seen it at the end of 2018 till 2022 to get his mom kind of on board saying she sees it too. And
Yeah.
that was the hardest struggle, was getting her on board. She's on board now, and I mean, he's always been in some kind of treatment for kids that are delayed, but now he's finally getting over into the right schools. That started just this school year. He actually transferred over, so he was in a true spectrum class instead of just speech delayed class.
Interesting. Okay, good. And so, what do you think? What do you think was the reason that it took so long for her to come on board?
Honestly, I don't really know, but if I had to take a guess, it would be just the hype that's around the spectrum and autistic children is too many people because I mean, you're not much older than me. When we was young, autism was the same as mental retardation, that those kids weren't smart. Where as we've gotten older, we've realized they're actually smarter than us. And I think that was a big hang up is just the climax around he is not dumb. He's just learns differently. I think she really struggled with that if I had to make a
Mm,
guess.
yeah. What do you think? Why do you think you were so capable of seeing it early? What do you think made a difference for you?
I think probably just attention to detail. I
Mm,
mean, I see all the little things. My family, dyslexia runs really hard in my family. I'm dyslexic. Two of my brothers are dyslexic. My father's dyslexic. So we recognize learning pattern differences.
okay.
And I think that might have been part of it. And it was just, I mean, I seen those flags and I was like, is this normal? I asked my mom and she said, no, I don't think so. None of you or the boys done that. So I
Mm,
started Googling the things he was doing that I thought was a little unusual. And all of them came up as, spectrum red flags.
okay. Wow. Well, good on you for recognizing that and having that communication with your family and stuff. Are your parents still together?
Yes. They're, next year they hit their 50th wedding anniversary.
Dang, 50 years, man. That's congratulations to them. That's pretty incredible. God, my parents have been together since 71. So they got to be like at 50, 52 years. They just hit 52 years now this year. So,
Thanks.
wild. Yeah. I mean, it hardly happens nowadays, right? Like people being married for that long. So your parents got married in,
74.
74. Wow.
74.
Yeah, man.
We got married in
So,
74 and had 5 boys. I still ain't figured out how they survived that one. And they were high school sweethearts.
high
So,
school sweethearts. Wow. What an awesome experience. So growing up in your family, what was it like having five boys and intact family? How was that for you?
honestly, it was amazing. I love the life I had. Looking back, I wish I would have paid more attention to my friends who didn't have both parents at home
Mm,
because I didn't realize how much that information could have paid off in the future for me. But it it is nice. I mean, I honestly I wish Mason could have had the same thing, but cookie doesn't always crumble that way, and he it's very unusual really today talking to people, and my parents were high school sweethearts, dated for 2.5 years, something like that, before they got married. Then that's the only people that they've known really as a relationships, each other. And when I tell people that, they're like, what? I mean, nobody can believe there's still families out there that are intact. My favorite parts were still very close. I mean, we live
yeah.
on family land. Every Sunday, most of my brothers are at mom and dad's with me having lunch. So,
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. It's so great to hear that, because there are so few families that are intact. I had a bunch of friends whose parents got divorced and stuff when we were kids. I didn't pay that close of attention either. My parents were still together. They're still together today. I think like your parents, like I think they were like their first real relationships. Like maybe they might have had like a boyfriend before or a girlfriend before, but really short period of time. And they were like the first real relationship and they've just stayed together and made this work together forever since then. And it's such a powerful example to have on like that commitment level, that attention to detail, that willingness to give of themselves for the common good and the betterment of their family and stuff. It's so amazing to just get to see that, right? And get to see, um, how good a relationship can be. Unfortunately, that's not the experience that I got to have, or my son's getting to have with a family and stuff. And and even more unfortunate is that it's so common that a split family and split households is more the norm, and in society's like way that things are going, as opposed to that intact family where you have kids together 100% of the time, all the time, and you're just getting to be with both your parents and your kids every single day, getting to have that impact and that connection all the time. It's too bad.
I will say though, something I learned honestly as an older age, it can have its flaws.
Hmm.
Uh, See, my parents raised me. Marriage is a job, and
Hmm.
no matter what problems come, you work through it. And that led me to actually staying married a lot longer than I ever should have, because that's what I was raised. And then because of that, I started looking at other things. And I mean, like, you look at how many women they are upset because their child's father wouldn't marry them when that's what their parents done. They had a early pregnancy, so they went ahead and got married because the time back then, was completely different than now. So that's what they expect, and then they get upset over that's the way they was raised. If you impregnate a woman, then you marry her, and then like my parents was, no matter what, you make your marriage work. It can have its downsides on the impression it leaves on the children that can actually, you don't see it because of all of the upsides, but it does have its downsides that I
Yeah,
don't think a lot of people think about is how's your relationship examples going to show and teach your children.
right. Well, I think, going through that stuff, I don't know if your parents' relationship was perfect the whole entire time. I don't think my parents' relationship was perfect the whole entire time. I know they had disagreements and stuff. I heard them, have yelling matches and that kind of stuff. Those kind of things I think happen, especially when there's high emotions and high energy going on. But that commitment to finding an answer, right? Nowadays, it's just easier to you know what, let's just break up, let's move on, and the kids will be okay. And my happiness is more important than my commitment to this relationship and this family. And we've transitioned commitment and being steadfast and devotion, and dedication to us building something together for immediate gratification and satisfaction, and that we've lost that real connection point of staying true to something and helping see something through to fruition, whatever that is. And in marriage vows used to be like, they probably still are, but that, till death do us part, for better or for worse, happiness and health and sickness and wealth, or there's a bunch of things that they talk about that are in there. And then you get in there, and yo, Donald, what's up? And you get in there, and now it's like, boom, you know what? Oh, they lost their job, they're not making any money. Oh, you know what? I'm just not happy anymore. My happiness comes first over and above everything else in this experience, and that has been so detrimental. I think this vision of, we have to be happy. I have to be happy. I need my happiness first and foremost, and then everything else can come afterwards. But happiness is what you make of it, right? Like, your parents found happiness, right? They made happiness in their life, through their
Yeah.
purpose or through their experience, right?
Yeah. I mean, life is what you make it. If you're unhappy, really, there's no one to blame but yourself. Because no matter what is thrown at you, you can always accept it, move forwards, and find happiness with it.
Mhm.
And that is the concept that's lost. Everybody's so hung up on, I got to do better. I need more. I need more. I need more. They can't be happy with what they have anymore. And that's, I think, a big problem that spilled over into the, family court systems. And that is, I mean, you look at some of the people we know, they're so hung up on how much time they get that it makes me question, are they making the most out of their time? I mean,
Mhm.
I've had weeks where literally I only see my son for 3 hours, and that was
Yeah.
once a week for an hour and a half to 3 hours. Sometimes I would get 6 hours scattered out over 3 days, and, I mean, that was rough time, but when I have Mason, my whole world was Mason during that time,
Mhm.
and that helped me build a bond that when I went to court and through there, I started pro se, and I ended up getting the state aid attorney because of how little I made, which
Okay.
worked out in my favor. And
Mhm.
I mean, that was one of the things she said why the attorney was willing to fight so hard for me was she said she's just not seen many dads with a child that young and that little time having that deep of a bond because when my son was there, I didn't care about the fight. I didn't think about the fight. I didn't think about I need more time. I only engulfed myself into that time to make the most of it. And I still today try to do that every single day that he's
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. To be in that experience with him and share those moments, right? Like 'cause he's 5 and pretty soon he'll be 6, right? And then he'll be 15 and not
Yeah.
wanting to hang out.
Yeah. I'm getting a very good example of what a 15-year-old's like with my stepson.
Yeah. Yeah. I and it's awesome, right?
Most of the time, there's other times I'm just sitting there going, I got to do this again in 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, right? I can't wait to relive this moment with my own son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those lovely
Let's
and awkward conversations.
let's talk about a little bit about your experience with Mason and his mom. You guys were you guys married?
No, we was not. I was actually in a marriage that was very rapidly ending when I met his mother, and we dated for almost a year before we found out she was pregnant. Then that was kind of where things kind of snowballed real bad because we couldn't just figure out a way. And as time went on, we realized that we would be extremely toxic if we tried to be a family, like an intact family. And
Yeah.
there was a lot of
So
arguing, a lot of fighting.
when did you guys split up?
We actually was officially broke up before he was ever even born.
Were you at the delivery?
I was. It took some persuading, but I was there the moment he was born. I watched him come out, and I was actually more staring at the machines than I was the birth because I know statistically when the child's born, a lot of times the mothers get overlooked on little health things because
Mm,
everybody's so engulfed on the child. And I knew no matter what was happening, no matter how rough the road ahead was, that kid was still going to need his mom. So I was
mhm.
actually more watching the machines and making sure she was okay
Yeah.
than the actual childbirth.
Wow. That's awesome. I think it's great to be so concerned about that, and I think in that moment and stuff, a lot of times the women are getting, forgotten about. I can't say that my son's mom got cut open and and they kicked me out of the room with my son Elijah, and we got to go back to um the staying room, I guess, whatever the next room is that we go to, and they stitched her up and stuff, and we weren't even present in the area. She got to hold him for a few seconds, and I got to lay him on her chest for a few seconds for like a photo op, and that was about the extent of it. Otherwise, him and I left, and she was there for an hour or so without us, while she was getting stitched up. So you guys were split from the very beginning. What was it like shortly after that day? So because you weren't together with her, were you getting much time with Mason early on, or was it a different experience?
Uh, I mean, it varied. While she was on maternity leave, I was working also, and the company I worked for offered 4 weeks maternity leave to even the dad.
Hmm.
So I took that time. I was driving up to her parents' house where she was staying right after, coming home from the hospital. Pretty much every single day that I could afford it, going up, trying to help her be with the kid. And the first about month or so was actually pretty decent. We didn't have a lot of arguing, and it wasn't until we started trying to figure out a schedule
Mm,
because it was too many variables in the schedule. I'm looking at, okay, I need this time, I work these hours. She's looking at the same thing. And then, her parents had to come in and they needed their time. And which, I mean, and they do, grandparents need their time too, but it created very much of a headache
mm,
with there was too many people wanting time with Mason. And there just wasn't enough time that we all wasn't working.
yeah.
And that created a lot more
Some
issues,
scarcity.
and it kinda went south because we wrote up multiple contracts saying, "Hey, this is what the parenting schedule is gonna be, and this is what child support's gonna be," and then I don't know what would happen, it would just fall apart, and finally, I hit a wall and said, "If we can't come to an agreement, I'm gonna have to talk to an attorney," and that was Veterans Weekend 2018,
Mm,
and I mean, everything just kind of snowballed and fell from there and just turned into almost 3-year custody battle.
yeah.
And
That's about when we met each other, was about that same time then. So going through your experience. So when you decided to get the attorney, how much time were you getting with Mason then? A couple hours here and there? Was it pretty hit and miss? Were you getting overnights?
no, I got a few overnights before things went south. I got one or two overnights in around December, January, while he was still a few months old. Then the overnights dried up very quick, and I was getting like on Wednesdays I might get 2 hours. Then on a
Yeah.
Sunday, I might get an hour to 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours,
Mm,
and it kinda felt like when she needed something to do, I got to come and babysit, and that's all the way it was going at that
mm,
time, and, uh, I mean, looking back, I it's frustrating, but I also don't blame her too much because, I mean, we all want our kids, and we all
yeah.
struggle with letting go of the kids, and that kinda all that when I thought of that, that was why when I was with the unmarried father, I was trying to get a new law over on that, and I was trying to get a lot of traction, just could never get anywhere on I wanted the ability for fathers to step up before the child's even born,
Mhm.
because looking back at a lot of the arguments, it was always the arguing before that carried over to after he was born. The the hospital bills, the trying to get the nurseries ready, the trying to get stocked up on all that stuff, and it was I mean, I done what I could. Could I have done a lot more? Yes. Should I have done a lot more? Yes. But I was still doing the best that I could at that time that I thought was my best. And I got thinking if fathers could kind of move in and start gaining those rights beforehand, because I seen that while I was with them was a lot of dads were, well, how do I know this kid's even mine? Or why do I want to put all this work in when the moment it's born, I have zero rights to that child and I know I'm going to have to fight for it? Was what if we could knock that out before the child was ever born? And when the parents, because normally during the pregnancy, the parents are still working pretty decently well together.
Mhm.
It's normally after the child's born, everything falls apart,
Yeah.
and so that was probably my biggest regrets. I wish I would have done more before he was born.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the hard thing is that you can't go back and change any of that stuff, right? Like, you
No,
can only learn from that experience and then make better choices in the future, on how you're going to show up and be involved. And it sounds like you made a lot of really good choices for yourself and for Mason, after he was born to be involved. And when it wasn't working out, you went and got a lawyer, and took it to court. And so you guys split up. When you went to court, what was your court ordered minimum visitation time?
well, I actually went. I filed beginning of April with the courts, and I never even had a custody agreement until October. So I was still at her whim on seeing him until October. It took that long. And we settled in mediation the first time around to 120 days a year, I think it was.
Mhm.
And all the attorneys was like, "Oh, you got more than the standard." And I'm like, "I'm not a damn standard parent." I hate that term. We are
Mhm.
not standard parents. We are each our own parent.
Right.
And then I made sure my case didn't close. I left it open for 1 year. That was part of the agreement is we had to go back to a mediation because I knew once that case closed, the odds of me opening it, I mean, I have to have just cause. I can't just say I want more time.
Right.
And so by leaving on that, that led me to my second round, which I tried to do completely different than the first time around.
Yeah. What'd you do different?
Well, it was around the time I reopened my case, I realized kind of all the screw ups that I had made. And
Which
I
were?
was like that, not being there for her, trying to play the two lives, still trying to keep my married life as opposed to just moving and engulfing myself into our son. And I just wasn't being the dad I should have been. And so I've kind of re-geared towards instead of saying, I deserve this time, I'm his dad. I went with the approach of look at what I've done, look at what I've helped him with. I've earned more time.
Mhm.
And by doing that, I think it changed her mentality a little bit. We about 6.5, 7 months after court reopened, we kind of started actually negotiating on things. We came to an agreement on our own,
Yeah.
which we came to that because we was discussing, what are we going to tell Mason when he's older and he's asking, hey, why do I only see dad these days? Why do I only see mom these days?
Mhm.
And we agreed it would be better if the answer we can tell him without lying to him is, well, mommy and daddy sat down, we discussed, and this was the schedule that suits both of our work schedules and both of our needs. So we both get almost equal amount of time with him. And
Yeah.
as opposed to, well, I was trying to get more time or this, that, and the other, and a judge told us this is what the time is. Because then
Mhm.
we're both the bad guy. And
Right.
that's another thing that I think's forgotten. People realize if a judge is the reason why you have the time that neither parent will can find a common ground or one parent finds it, the other one doesn't, both parents are the bad guy in the child's eyes. It's they need to see the parents working together. And once we kind of both got on that page, I moved from 120 days a year to 150 days a year and we actually settled on a zero deviation child support because we were so close on time and we're decently separate on income. She covers the insurance and I cover my house because she has better insurance than I have. So, and we just worked it out. And instead of child support, we tried to put money back into a special savings for his car fund, his emergency fund, his college fund. I mean, he's not as big as we was hoping, but we also didn't expect COVID to take the hit on the economy that it did. Uh,
Yeah.
but we're still putting money back as much as we can for that because we want him to see we're working together, not parallel parenting, not the fighting each other constantly. And since
What?
we've started doing that, he's, I mean, jumped exponentially in his abilities. He went from
Mhm.
maybe 5 words to he can say just about anything other than tongue twisters. He still struggles with how much wood could a woodchuck chuck, but
That's a hard one. So I still struggle with that one. So it's a good practice the Dr. Seuss books, right? That's where all the tongue twisters are at. If you can do Dr. Seuss, you can do anything. So there's a wallet in my pocket and fox and socks.
yeah.
It's a monster. What are the things? So you guys changed and had such a good, better relationship. What are the things that you did differently for yourself when you were wanting that transition and getting more time? How did you show up differently to um, to influence her, and to be the man you want to be?
I accepted the fact that I was going to lose.
Mm,
That was the biggest thing is I went in with the mentality of, I know this is a waste of time. I know I'm going to lose. The father has no rights. And I actually even pleaded that way. It was, I know that the decision falls on her. And I even told her that. I was like, I know the decision falls on you. Or, I mean, because if we went to court, I knew what a judge was going to say. You live too far away. He's about to start school. He's going to be going in a school district 50 miles from your home. And there's no reason to go with that. And I think that changed a lot because I acted humble instead
mm,
of more entitled. And then we done a couple things. We went to the zoo together on one of the days we was trying to get him into a school. And she said that the zoo trip really changed things for her because she no longer seen me as her ex. She just seen me as a dad.
mm,
And because that was all my life became. It was I just humbled myself to if I was a dad with 120 days a year, then I'm going to make those 120 days a year better than having 365 or 364, however many. It's I'm going to make every second of every day count to the most. And it was shortly after that uh, I actually left my full-time job and I started working part-time. I gave up everything as far as my material possessions. I returned the car on that I had a loan on so that I didn't have to worry about that. I drive a little old beater truck now so I can afford to only work a few days a week. And then that puts the other days I'm nothing but dad.
mm.
And I think her seeing that really changed something because it was the sacrifice I'm willing to make just to be a dad kind of changed her mentality, I think.
What's been the benefit you've gotten out of making that choice?
I'm dad. That's all my life is. I go to work on the days I have work. I'm there, and then now that I have my stepson, I'm dad 24/7. I leave my work. I sit and wait on my stepson to get out of high school. I pick him up. I come home, and then the days I have Mason, I do the same thing. I'm sitting up there waiting on him to get out of his school. We it just I don't have the stress of worrying about, you know, if my kid's sick, am I going to miss work? If this happens, am I going to miss work? Because I mean, I was constantly on the verge of being fired over sitters.
Mhm.
Because if a sitter's late, I'm late. If a sitter misses, I miss. And I just couldn't handle that stress anymore. And I was like, I can learn to live on less money. I can't learn to make a sitter show up at my house at 3:30 in the morning for so I can leave for work. But I
Yeah.
can learn to live on less money. I can cut out a lot of material possessions. And that really changed, which a big factor I had in that is my family had a home that they said I could inherit. And so I got to move and not have to worry about a mortgage. That's been the biggest blessing with
Wow.
it. Because I know if you have a mortgage, you can't be like, oh, I'm just going to cut my bills.
Right. I'm looking at my biggest bill, my mortgage out right out of the equation. I mean, what a blessing to have that family that's close, and that's the a big benefit of having that intact, close family, right? Is they have the opportunity to build more wealth together and be connected, and so then there's more opportunities because you're not fighting in court, you're not giving away your money to somebody else. Everybody's working in unison towards a common goal, and then they have that ability to have a house that you can let your son live in because you have that close knit group, and they work together as opposed to uh, antagonistically against each other for
Yeah.
the kids, right? Right.
Yeah. I mean, the
Yeah.
house I live in was actually my mother's inheritance from her dad.
Wow.
And then she was like, I don't want the house. I got my own house. But
Mm.
I mean, I can throw a rock from my kitchen door and land in the garage halfway to my parents' house. And My oldest brother was living here when I moved in, and he was
Yeah,
buying
remember that.
my dad's grandmother's or my dad's mom's house, and he
Okay.
after she passed, he moved into there and fixed it up, and now me, my girlfriend, her son, and Mason, we all live in this house. We had to do some serious adjusting, including adding a new
Yeah.
bedroom.
I remember you working on that. I remember the pictures and stuff. It all turned out really well, right? Like, and you guys
Yeah.
made a great family home out of that. I think the story of you going through that experience, of you transitioning yourself and seeing the materialistic needs and stuff were just that and not nearly as important, but that having that quality time and that attention and being with Mason and building that family moved you forward so much further in your life than going after that job and getting those things, right? Tell me
Definitely.
about tell me about that transition. I think that's such a powerful experience to see how the most important thing really is showing up for your kids and being in this experience and helping them grow and live, as opposed to like needing to buy more and provide more, and that it's really about the financial gains more than it is about the emotional and present experiences with your children.
Oh, kind of one of the things that got me going on that was my parents reminded me, when I was growing up, we didn't have much money. I mean, we always had
Mhm.
meals to eat. We had, plenty of food, but new bicycles weren't a thing for us. We got
Right.
yard sale bicycles. If we wanted something, normally dad would bring home scrap wood and we built it instead of going and buying it. And my mom was talking about that one day. She was like, it's not the things that kids remember, it's the people. And
Mhm.
I got looking back, and I mean, I was a teenager when I actually got my first brand new bicycle.
Mm.
And I don't can't tell you a single thing about that bike. But I do remember me and dad going to the Walmart in Maryville while all my brothers was running around the mall and doing other stuff. And I remember the time with dad. I don't remember the toys we got
Mhm.
but I remember all the camping trips. I remember every single one of them. I remember all the hiking
Mm.
trips. But I mean, aside from the toys that my mom hung on to that Mason plays with today, sitting right over there, I can't remember very much of the toys. I can't tell you when I got my first game system. I can't tell you what all game systems I had. I can't tell
Right.
you what games I had. But I do remember sitting playing Pokemon with my mom
Mhm.
when that was big the first time around in the '90s, and I I remember playing that. I remember the card game. I remember playing it on the old Game Boy Advance with her, and
Yeah.
but I don't remember how we got the games. I can't remember buying them. I don't know where we got them from,
Isn't that
and
amazing? That's a cool experience. I also remember a lot of those things and don't think about them enough. Like I had video games, right? I had a Nintendo, I had a PlayStation. I don't know. I had a couple of different gaming systems as a kid. I had a bunch of toys. I'm sure I had a bicycle. I remember riding bikes and stuff occasionally, but not where I got the bike from. Did I get it for Christmas? Did I get it for my birthday? Was it a hand me down? None of that stuff mattered. But like the trips, like driving across the country when my dad was moving from army base to army base, and us cruising across the country, and I got to be the map guy sitting in the front seat when I was probably like 9 years old, because back then 9-year olds could sit in the front seat without a seatbelt on, no nothing, man.
oh
Up
yeah,
in middle of the night with a flashlight, hanging out, tell my dad, get on this road right here. And my dad's like, oh, Jesus, we're never going to make it. We got a 9-year-old conducting traffic here. Um, but
that
those are the experiences, right? Like hanging out, going camping, and a skunk walking through our campsite, and just hanging out like right around the campfire with the whole family. Could have stunk us all out, but it decided just to cruise through and check out the fire and then keep going. And those are the kind of memories you have when you aren't. And then the things that were bought or paid for, all that stuff goes away. And we're coming up on Christmas time right now, right? And everybody's so focused on all the material things. I got to get my kids toys. I got to have all this stuff. I got to be able to provide these things, right? And what do kids really remember the most is just the moments,
yeah.
and it's a
I
powerful,
mean,
powerful memory.
granted, both of my boys' Christmases put together ain't even totaling $100 because of the life that we chose. But in return, like Thanksgiving, my family actually gives out gifts at Thanksgiving, not Christmas. We don't celebrate Christmas at all. And that was why I put that comment on there. I don't have to worry about who has the kid for what holiday. I get Thanksgiving, his mom gets Christmas. But I mean, we spent the day out in the yard playing with those toys in the dirt. I mean, we all was filthy by the time we came back in. And that's more than what he's gonna remember that more than the little RC car I bought him. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because that RC car, I dare say, give it a month and he's gonna break it just because he tries to work it. He'll tie a rope around it and tie a rope onto a tree, thinking it can uproot the tree like we do with the tractors, and he's gonna burn it
Seems
up.
legit.
I mean, that's
Right.
what kids do. So that's gonna go in the trash. I mean, how many of the things that we had when we was young do we still have, other than
Right.
memories?
Right.
And that was what led me to I'm not going to care how much stuff he has. I'm not going to worry about how many toys he has, how many, does he have 5 closets worth of clothes for being here 150 days? No, and I can't go the whole time without washing clothes when he's here because I keep it all minimalistic. That and he's growing like a weed, so it's hard to keep up with all the clothes.
Right.
But he has what he needs, and I fill in instead of more material things with just the time. Me sitting in the floor playing with Legos, me sitting on the floor playing with Thomas the Train. And for my stepson, I mean, we play video games on Xbox and the laptop. We'll play Valheim a lot, that Rocket League stuff like that. We're on there playing games, and I mean, my Xbox is an Xbox One S, the old white ones. I mean, that thing's older in the hills now in technology world, but it gets
Right.
the job done. I mean, we still have the regular Nintendo. We all play on the regular Nintendo. It's
I mean, 64 bits are pretty dope. So it's coming back now. So
yeah,
16-bit or whatever it is, right?
yeah. The other game, they dropped GoldenEye on Xbox recently. I mean, and me and him's been having a blast. I slaughtered him for the first few hours, and
Yeah.
he's better at gaming because I'm sitting there like, yeah, I remember all the hidey holes,
Boom, right?
and
Yeah. Dropping proximity mines and
then
stuff.
he found them, and now I'm sitting there running around. And I'm just dying constantly. Like this kid's better at gaming than me.
Right. Yeah, no chance. I as a kid, my parents got a gaming system, an Atari, when I was a baby, 2 years old, 3 years old, something like that, right? And my dad was in med school, and all the other med school students come over and play the gaming system and hang out. And I used to kick their ass, being 2, 3 years old, crushing these young adults in some gaming systems. And it's amazing what kids are capable of doing. They're so much faster with that stuff. And that's a memory I have, right? Like the gaming system, but a memory that I have being I was probably like 4 or 5 at that point in time, but um, just being, having that much fun. I probably got my ass kicked, honestly, but having the opportunity and what a chance to like to have that connection, right? To be with them in their experience. Mason doing things on the floor. I don't even know your stepson's name. Sebastian.
Yes.
Sebastian. Yeah, being 15 and having that juxtaposition of like being able to be on the floor present with Mason, playing the Legos, playing the Thomas the Train, and being in that moment with him, uh, imagining, fantasizing, playing like it's real life with him in that moment, and then being a transition into a teenager and playing video games and having that different experience. Um, what do you take from having that opportunity to have that both age groups in your life and being a parent to both those kids?
Honestly, when I look at it, a lot of days it fills me with sadness and at the same time fear. I'm sad a lot of days for Sebastian because he doesn't have those memories with his dad that
Mm-hmm.
I do. I mean, his dad, he does love him, he does try, but he has a lot of his own things he's working through right now. They actually just talked last week for the first time in a while, and
Good.
we're very hopeful that he's going to start kind of trying to work and earn his way back in. And so, I mean, that really fills me with a lot of sadness because just sitting there like, Mason's got all this and he's talking about that. He's like, I wish I had a dad like Mason has my whole life. And then it fills me with fear that one day, Mason's mom's going to find somebody like me that's going to actually give me a run for my money on being his dad. And so it's a bittersweet. I mean, I love filling those shoes for Sebastian. I mean, and watching him grow up and everything that he's done. I mean, he's hit so many milestones with me. I mean, last year we taught him how to shoot, and then like literally not even 40 days later, he had his first kill, and he got 3 deer last year on his first deer season. We've not had much luck this year, but I mean, with those, I'm teaching him how to drive my truck that's a manual. He's got to get new glasses so he can get his permit. He's learning to drive automatics, manuals, tractors, and teaching him all the good work habits that are lost in today's world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so much good. And then my favorite part of being a step parent is the ability to walk between parent and friend. That is just something that I absolutely love. I can have those conversations with him that are stuff that parents struggle to get because I can do it as a friend. But then I can also help him with advice the same as a parent.
Yeah. That's awesome. We're getting close to the end, and I want to wrap it up with, kind of some questions about um, your experiences. What are the things that you've learned the most about yourself going through this parenting experience?
Have faith above all and stay humble. That's been the two biggest things I've struggled with through the entire thing is stay humble, enjoy what you have, don't keep seeking more. Just not settle, but accept and make the best out of what you have. And then just holding to faith because that's the thing I credit most of where I'm at is my faith and just staying to believing that it's all going to work out and having faith that it will work out. And I know unfortunately it doesn't work out for a lot of people. And that's another reason why I say it's hard to stay humble sometimes. It's hard to look at those dads that I can't find a single reason why they only see their kids 60 to 80 days a year. And I'm sitting here going, as far as I can tell, they're the same dad I am, and I've got 150. And deep down, there's always that part of you that wants to go like, nah, or something. But just staying humble and trying to encourage them that it's not the amount of time you have, it's the quality time you have.
Mhm.
And by accepting that, those were the two hardest things for me to learn. To stop chasing the nice truck, the nice home, the nice big TVs, the new gaming systems, because that's all I see with my friends. I mean, all
Mhm.
my friends are on all the newest gaming systems, the newest, biggest TVs, brand new cars, and I'm over here driving a O2 beater truck that I'm just wondering when it's gonna break down on me. And everything I've got's at least 3 to 5 years old. I mean, every single thing, and it gets hard to fight that getting caught up in
Mhm.
the wanting more because I mean, you can't watch TV for 5 minutes without seeing a commercial on get something new, refinance
Mhm.
your home so you can buy more stuff.
Right.
It's so easy to get caught up, and it's hard to stay humble.
Yeah. Yeah. And staying focused on the things that really matter, right? Like all these material things, they come and they go. Like you thought the toys break and trucks, you know, uh, uh, they break down, they die. Everything stops working. But having those memories, being connected with your kids, you know, building that relationship and that connection and a life together, doing the things that are really going to move you forward is such a powerful juxtaposition from what society really kind of tells us that we should be all striving for. You said you watch the TV, right? And it's like buy this, buy this, buy this. You're right. You have your kids on there. My son watches the commercials and he's like, I want that toy. I want that toy. I want that toy. I want that toy. And they want all these things, but what they really want is that connection. They want that energy, and they want that life together with that parent, building the memories, doing the things together that really are life sustaining, which is sharing and being in connection and respect. And yeah, I think you've done a great job, man. That's one reason I wanted to have you on today and have you here with me, was that what I've seen from you is that you've gone through an experience of being a parent, trying to be involved, taking what you got, and then just working on yourself, being focused on how you're going to show up, how you're going to be there for Mason. I mean, I remember the videos we share, and the photos we share of each other, sitting there, in the dirt, playing with Mason, watching him play with his little trucks, in the water, in the mud, and just enjoying those moments of peace and calm and connection. And then talking about him, like, okay, I'm gonna let you go so I can go and I can spend time with him playing in the dirt, right? And we do the same thing. We go back and forth, and we would just really fill each other up and be connected through that experience of like trying to strive for more time and trying to be more involved. And then when you had that chance, we would gloat about it, like, man, check out me and Mason when we're doing the things we're working on. Learn how to ride bikes, we're learning how to do all these things, and then be like, okay, enough talking to you about it. Now I'm gonna go back and just go back to living it,
Yeah.
and
The one I remember on you, Colin, was when Elijah drove the side by side that time. I think it was about a year ago. I mean, you just called me so ecstatic, and but it sounded like you was still in the side by side with him. And I mean, I'll never forget that. Then it was like an hour or two later, boom, there's a video on Facebook of you two just cruising on that side by side. And
yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's the important part. And unfortunately, I think that gets lost with a lot of parents married and separated because they get just so caught up in, I got to work, I need to do this, I need to do this with the job, I got to be able to provide this. And that's probably my favorite meme I see popping up all the time is, it's not as a parent trying to get you everything that you didn't have as a child.
Mhm.
It's trying to teach them everything that you had to learn as an adult.
Mm,
And
powerful.
that's by far my favorite meme because I can't even remember what I didn't have as a kid, but I
Right.
can remember things I wished I would have learned as a kid. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's kind
I
of
think that's so powerful.
it is. That's just a great thing that I love. And unfortunately, it's gets frustrating seeing, especially on social media, how many people are just so hung up on quantity of their life and not the quality.
Mhm. Yeah, having the things, having the stuff. And I think that goes back to like the stuff like we talk about with our families are still together, right? And the commitment to each other, and that dedication and devotion to a relationship and to a life that they are designing to build. And sometimes there's ups and downs, and it's not always all perfect and clean. It's not a a Facebook post or a reel that you made. Life is sometimes hard and sometimes sad. And you can't just have happiness. Happiness comes and it goes, and you get to enjoy that, but you get to find the joy in your life. You get to find the joy in your life in the little things that you do and the time that you get to spend. And the most joy comes from sharing those experiences with the people that you love and building those memories, teaching Mason and Elijah those little things day in and day out. They're going to move them forward in their lives. They're going to give them the opportunity to have success and joy and happiness in their life in the future, and building them up to be those successful people. It, you're an amazing dad, Jesse. I just want to let you
I
know
appreciate that. And
how much I appreciate having you as a friend, and having you come on here and talking to me and to everybody else. It fills my heart with joy to hear how much you've sacrificed of yourself to go out there and to be the dad that you wanted to be for Mason, that you knew that Mason needed and deserved, and that you've changed your life around and done so many things differently so that way you could give that to him. And he's a blessed little boy. I've never met him in person. I've seen thousands and thousands of photos and stuff. And I look forward to the chance that I get to come out to Tennessee and enjoy it with you guys. And you guys get out here to the mountains of the West. I can show you guys how great this area is also. But that it's a blessing to have a friend like you and to be in this experience with a man who's so committed and devoted and patient and giving. You're a true testament to what we should be striving for. And this time of year, right now, the holidays and it all being about family, there's no better person to take example from than somebody who's given everything they can to build this family that you have. And you got a great son, and you have a good relationship with his mom. You have a beautiful person that you're working with to building a family together, and Connie. And I just see so many great things, and so I just appreciate you being an example for me and helping me stay focused and committed to the things I'm working on.
I appreciate that, and actually, the same towards you. I mean, when I'm having my off days, I always like to go to your Facebook page and see all the things you're doing with Elijah to motivate me to get back in the dirt and play with Mason more. Because I mean, same at you. I mean, everything I see with you and Elijah, it's just you guys are so committed to your time together, and that's probably the thing. If anybody hears anything from this, I want them to hear is don't worry about the amount of time you have, because in the end, the time will come. Worry about making the best of your time, because the kids will see eventually what kind of parent you are. They're going to see the sacrifices that you made. And eventually those will resonate. And even if you don't have the amount of time you think you've earned, deserve, need, and the child needs, just be patient. And I mean, these kids grow up in a blink of an eye and they're fully grown. And, it might be when they have kids, when they finally look back and go, wow, I need to reconnect because I see everything they done.
Yeah,
And we don't know how long it's going to take. All we can do is make the best out of what we have every day.
that's right. Make the best of every day you got. You got this chance right now. You can spend time with them. Don't let them regret, resistance, revenge. Let those things fly by. And be present in that moment. You get this one chance to be in this moment with your kids. Take advantage of every single moment that you get. Enjoy the time. Take the cuddles, take the love, take the shares, take the cries, and appreciate all of it, because eventually it all goes away and they all turn into adults, and then you don't have that time ever again. And so this is your chance right now to be in that experience with your kids. Enjoy it, treasure it, cherish it, and give 100% of yourself in that moment. Just be present with them, and everything's gonna be better by being present with them in that moment. So anyways, Jesse, I appreciate you, man. Love you, my friend. I wish you
Anything
all the best. Give the family some love,
I
and
will do,
and
you do the same.
let's get together here soon. So,
Hey, hit me up.
all right,
I'm always available.
I know you, man. Sounds good. All right, Jesse, man. See you soon.
See you.
Bye, everybody.
See you, everybody.